What's up, everyone? Today is the 22nd of June, 2024. In today's video, we're going to cover another mass shooting at a grocery store that happened yesterday in the state of Arkansas. Now, I know food prices have been going up lately, and it's affecting everyone's wallet, including my own. But never would I imagine going to the store and shooting it up. But this seems to be happening a lot over the past few years. And I think it's important to note that a grocery store is someplace that almost everybody visits. So when it comes to striking fear in the masses, this is an ideal location to have an incident such as this. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how yesterday's shooting connects to the skull and bones code that has been so prevalent ever since Yale University, home to Order 322, turned 322 years old. And I certainly don't go looking to make these connections, but as soon as you start looking at the numbers, it becomes painfully obvious that this is indeed the playbook that's being used to script our media. And just to give you another perfect example of this, last week, June 14th, I made a post about the Spanish Grand Prix coming up this weekend and how there was an absurd riddle connecting Lewis Hamilton to the skull and bones code for this race. And I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I knew it was powerful. The alignments were just too extreme. Well, yesterday, news comes up telling us that Mercedes, who Hamilton drives for, possibly sabotaged his car. And the president of Mercedes, or spokesman anyway, is refuting these allegations. And the sabotage could have even led to his death. This is what's being reported anyway. And it's all about Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. So the fact that I made this post last week, and now we get a story about Lewis Hamilton sabotage at the team, it's another perfect example of how this plays out. So let's get into the story about the shooting at a grocery store in Fordyce, Arkansas yesterday called the Mad Butcher, which is one of several chains. Well, I should say there are many Mad Butchers, so this is a supermarket chain. But what we're going to talk about is how this all connects to the Skull and Bones Code. And as always, we're going to be looking at the language of Gematria, which converts letters, names, phrases into numbers. We start out with the base 4 ciphers, beginning with the alphabetic order, spreading into the reduction and reverse ciphers, which use the rules of numerology to reduce every double-digit number to a single digit. Then, of course, we also have the extended forms of Gematria, Standard and Latin, which I consider to be the most significant in this study. Yale University, home to the Skull and Bones Society, had a special anniversary last year on October 9th, its founding date, when it turned 322 years old in the year 2023. The number 223 is important in astronomy, as this relates to solar and lunar eclipses. Every 223 synodic months, or lunar phases, we get an eclipse from the same Saros cycle. And indeed, the Skull and Bones Society is connected to this code of eclipses. Back in April, we had the second of 2 great American eclipses, separated by 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days. And I don't really think it's a coincidence that the bones that lie underneath the skull are formed in a cross very similar to the shape of the eclipse paths over the United States. If you want more information on this, please feel free to check the links in the description for the Yale Skull and Bones Eclipse Code, and also another video that explains Yale's connection to the Tower, the 16th card of the tarot, which will also be relevant to this decode today. In the alphabetic order, skull and crossbones sums to 223, the inverse of the 322 on the society's emblem. Back in 2021, there was another mass shooting at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. This shooting happened on March 22nd, or 322. My video on this event is also linked below in the description. In multiple forms of Gematria, Boulder sums to 223 and 322. Well, the following year, in 2022, we had another mass shooting at a grocery store. And just like the one in Boulder, where 10 people died, 10 people were reportedly also killed in this shooting. Those two grocery store shootings were separated by 13 months and 22 days on the calendar. Yesterday, we got a shooting at a grocery store called the Mad Butcher, which in reverse sums to 223. So who is the Mad Butcher? A man named Alan Bellamy founded this chain of supermarkets. Bellamy was born in 1927 and passed away back in 2012 at the age of 84. And we're going to explore how the life and death of this man is numerically connected to the event that happened at his store just yesterday. When Bellamy passed away, it was 61 days before his next birthday. 61 is the reduction gematria of skull and crossbones. Yesterday's shooting was in a town called Fordyce, Arkansas, which sums to 61 in that same cipher. In the extended methods, which we reviewed earlier, Fordyce, Arkansas, sums to 1231 and 861. Now, both of these numbers are connected to skull and bones. 1231 is the 202nd prime number, while 861 is the 41st triangular number. And skull and bones sums to both 202 and 41. Mad Butcher, also 41 in reduction. And as we'll see, this connects to the total solar eclipse from April earlier this year. In fact, using Latin gematria, Mad Butcher has matching 433 gematria with solar eclipse. 433 is another prime number, the 84th. Skull and Bones equals 840, while solar eclipse equals 804 in Sumerian gematria, which is ordinal times 6. The Mad Butcher, Alan Bellamy, who used to own this chain of supermarkets, died at age 84. However, I want you to also check out the date he died. April 26th of 2012. April 26th is written 426 on the calendar. And Skull and Bones is headquartered at Yale University. Notice how Yale gives us gematria of 426. And if this man was still alive, he would have been 35,426 days old for the shooting at one of his stores. This coming week, he would have also turned 97 years old. Skull and Crossbones, Brotherhood of Death, and Death, all summing to 97 as well. However, he would have also been 5,060 weeks old for this shooting, and whether you write out his common name or his full name, you get gematria of 56. Notice how his full name, Alan H. Bellamy Jr., also has matching 1,248 Latin gematria with the Tower. Now, the Tower is the 16th card of the tarot. In reduction, Yale sums to 16. And once again, a video I made on the connection of Yale and the tower is linked below. This shooting was in Fordyce, Arkansas, which has matching 160 gematria with Boulder, Colorado, which was the site of the first major grocery store shooting in 2021. Both of these cities also have reverse gematria of 245. Well, in the alphabetic order, Skull and Bones Society sums to 245. In the reduction form of gematria, Skull and Bones Society equals 74. This shooting yesterday was 74 days after the total solar eclipse over the United States. And in Latin gematria, total solar eclipse gives us values of both 704 and 74. This number of this 74 number, sinks back to the New Testament of the Bible, where Jesus is crucified. And during the Gospels, or according to the Gospels, darkness falls over the sky during the crucifixion. This is akin to an eclipse. And notice how killing, Jesus, cross, Messiah, all 74 in the alphabetic order. This means that in Sumerian gematria, all of these phrases sum to 444. Yesterday's shooting was a span of 4,440 days after the death of Alan Bellamy, the founder of Mad Butcher Grocery. Skull and Crossbones has gematria of 444 with capital letters. Skull and Crossbones 322 or Skull and Bones 322. Both have ordinal gematria of 444 as well. This capital letter cipher, by the way, maintains the alphabetic order but mixes capital letters in with one another. And of course, there's also the capitals added cipher, which simply adds 26 for any capital letter in the phrase. So there's a couple more things I want to talk about with this news story yesterday. And part of this is how it connects to a man named Samuel Fordyce. This man, who was a railroad executive during his professional career, also fought in the Civil War. And this is the guy who the town of Fordyce, Arkansas is named after. And in addition to Alan Bellamy, there's also massive numerical connections with this guy as well. Now, I'll try to go over this the best I can. This is a little bit all over the place, more so than most of my videos even. But this eclipse numerology is really fascinating. So the first thing I want to look at is Yale's anniversary from last year. Again, the university turned 322 in 2023. Now, if you measure from that date, October 9th, to yesterday's shooting, notice how you get 256 days. Well, this reflects the birthday of Mad Butcher founder Alan Bellamy, who was born on the 25th of June, or the date 25/6. However, if you include the end date, this is 257 days. In Gematria, total solar eclipse and blood sacrifice both equal 257. These same three digits are found in the Latin and standard values of Skull and Bones, 572 and 752. Measuring back to the 2022 Buffalo shooting at a Tops grocery store, yesterday's date was 25 months and 7 days later. Using capital letters, Yale University sums to 257. In the reverse order, Yale University equals 173. Well, yesterday was the 173rd day of a leap year, matching the Gematria of Fordyce, Arkansas, when you write it out with the abbreviation. But 173 is also a number connected to the crucifixion. As in the Gospels, it's claimed that Jesus yelled for Eli, Eli, or my God. And the word Eli is the number 173 upside down. By the way, this might be a little bit much, but earlier this year, just last month in fact, there was another Mad Max film that was released. And the only reason I thought of this is because I just started watching the original Mad Max last week without any knowledge that this movie even existed. Here we see May of 2024, right? And maybe it's a stretch to make this connection with Mad Max and Mad Butcher, but I did want to point out Mel Gibson's age, the star of the series. If you punch in Mel Gibson's birthday, January 3rd of 1956, to the date of the shooting yesterday, you get 25,007 days, which of course connects to this big 257 connection with Yale and the shooting yesterday. Now, Mel Gibson made a movie called The Passion of the Christ back in 2004. Now, interestingly enough, I have a cousin named Christopher who died on the exact same day that The Passion of the Christ was released, February 25th of 2004. That's not the topic of this video. I'll try and find it and link it below, but when Jesus was crucified, a lot of people believe this happened at the age of 33 in the year 33 AD. Crucifixion of Jesus Christ and Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, both 303 ordinal. Eclipse equals 33 in reduction. And don't forget 33 matches ritual human sacrifice. Yesterday's shooting was a span of exactly 3 years and 3 months after the King Soopers shooting in Boulder, Colorado back in 2021. This shooting was also exactly 33 weeks before the birthday of Samuel Fordyce, the namesake of Fordyce, Arkansas. His name Sam equals 33 ordinal. And when Sam died, it was exactly 330 mercurial years after he was born. This, of course, measures the time it takes Mercury to orbit the sun, approximately 88 days. Mercury, a planet that's strongly connected to Jesus. A lot of Christians think Jesus was born on 9/11, September 11th, which is under Virgo. Virgo ruled by the planet Mercury. And there is a 9/11 riddle in here as well. Consider how in standard gematria, the phrase Mad Butcher sums to the 119th prime number, so we will get there. But back to this 33. The city of Fordyce, Arkansas is even located on the 33rd northern parallel. 33, like the highest degree of Masonry 33, who use the capital G, which has the 33. And wouldn't you know, Fordyce, Arkansas was officially incorporated on the date April 8th. Well, April 8th was the date of the total solar eclipse that occurred earlier this year. 74 days before the shooting. Another interesting note is that Fordyce, Arkansas sums to 61 like skull and crossbones, but notice how in reverse, skull and crossbones equals 110. Arkansas sums to 110. Just like Alan Bellamy in Ordinal. Alan Bellamy summing to 110. And of course, 110, a number connected to 9/11. The World Trade Center was 110 stories tall. The North Tower even had the 110-meter antenna. Destroyed on the 11th in the 11th state, etc. The towers built by Rockefeller, destroyed by Osama bin Laden on 9/11, all 110. And the president at the time was a graduate of Yale and a member of Skull and Bones, George W. Bush, who then, after these attacks, won a completely farcical election against John Kerry, who is, of course, another member of Skull and Bones. So many of these politicians at the top of the rung, just actors playing out their numeric roles. And John Kerry running in 2004 was no mistake at all. Using square numbers, John Kerry equals 2004. Conceding the 2004 election, despite much evidence that there was tomfoolery in some of the swing states. Anyway, the 110 is important because the shooting was 110 days before Yale's anniversary and exactly 110 weeks after the grocery store shooting in Buffalo. June 21st is a span of 9 months and 11 days after the date 9/11. When the town of Fordyce was incorporated in 1908, it was exactly 116 years before the total eclipse over the United States. And of course, this is an upside-down 9/11. The man who the town was named after, Colonel Fordyce, as he's known. Well, check out Colonel Fordyce in Gematria. You get both 1106 and 1190. And then this shooting happens a span of 10 months and 19 days after the date he died. Again, I ask, what are the odds of all of this? So next up, I want to talk about a little bit deeper into the Eclipse code. And this all connects to Samuel Fordyce. Now, the name Sam Fordyce, check that out. 109 and 1009. Well, this is a lot like the date October 9th, which is when Yale University was founded. The word shooting also equals 109 in reverse. Now, recently, I did a video explaining how there's a certain series of eclipses that's a little bit more important than the rest. And if you want more information on this, check out my video on the Trump interview, which does a deep dive into Saros series 136. The Jesuit order was founded just 3 days before an eclipse from this Saros series back in the year 1540. And the more you dig into this series, the more significant you realize it is. Now, the last eclipse we had from this Saros series was in 2009. Notice how the founder of Mad Butcher died 1,009 days after that eclipse. 136 is a triangular number. That would be the 16th triangular number, which is, of course, connected to the Tower, Yale University. Fordyce, Arkansas has the 160. Yesterday's shooting fell a span of 136 days after the birthday of Samuel Fordyce, reminding us of how the Jesuits sums to 136. Samuel Fordyce died in the year 1919. Well, in the year 1919, we had an eclipse from Saros 136. And this is pretty rare because it's only every 18 years and 11 days that we get an eclipse from the same Saros. In Latin Gematria, the Society of Jesus sums to 1811. And again, a Saros, or eclipses from the same Saros, separated by 18 years, 11 days on average. In reverse standard Gematria, Yale University sums to 1919. 1919 is also the Gematria of 1331. And linked below, I have a post explaining how 1331 is truly the ultimate eclipse number. Well, isn't it interesting that yesterday's shooting was exactly 133 years and 1 month after the death of Alphonso Taft. Alphonso Taft is one of 2 founding members of the Skull and Bones Society. Here you see William Russell and Alphonso Taft co-founded the Skull and Bones Society. So we get the 1331 right there. But here's another 1331. The King Soopers shooting in Boulder, Colorado was 133 weeks and 1 day before Yale's 322nd anniversary. Now, we're talking about 1919 and all this. Consider how the 19th prime number is 67. The name Colonel equals 1967. The Colonel, Samuel Fordyce, died a span of 67 days after an eclipse from Saros 136. Total solar eclipse, human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, all 67 in Gematria. Another thing I thought was interesting is that Fordyce, Arkansas, when abbreviated, is 629. Well, the shooting yesterday was exactly 9,620 weeks after Samuel Fordyce was born, which is, the same 3 digits in reverse. Sam Fordyce, also 216 like yesterday's date, the 21st of June. So that was definitely a bit of a deep dive. But just to remind you guys, in the year 1919, these eclipses, these 2 eclipses in the year 1919 happened on May 29th and November 22nd. President John F. Kennedy was born on May 29th and died on November 22nd. In fact, he died exactly 44 years after an annular eclipse that began over Texas. See this? He died on the anniversary of this annular eclipse. And he was killed in Dallas, which sits right outside, like very, very close to where this eclipse started. Another thing I noted about this shooting is that in a lot of the pictures, you can see a Dollar General logo. And I did a post and a video on a Dollar General shooting last year in August, right after the death of Bob Barker. Now, curiously, if you measure from the date of this Dollar General shooting to yesterday's date, wait a minute, I thought it was 303 days. 8/26/23. Yeah, this is why I didn't include it, because the measurement was wrong. One more note that's not wrong, however. Samuel Fordyce, another thing that connects him to this eclipse code is his birth year, 1840. Why is 1840 of note? Well, in standard Gematria, the Brotherhood of Death has these same 4 digits, 1084. In the alphabetic order, Great American Eclipse equals 184. Fordyce would have been 184 years old for the Great American Eclipse, which happened on the anniversary of the date his town was incorporated, right? April 8th. So I'm sure there's definitely more to unpack. The eclipse code, as always, is relevant. And the reason I talk about the eclipse side of things so much is because I feel like there's kind of a basis of the script. And I think in the long-term future, there's something to be said for predicting events like this, because it's obvious that there's scripting going on here. This is all fear-based mind control. And I'm not saying this is all fake, right? I am saying there have been fake shootings, but I know for a fact that a lot of these mass shootings are not fake. The whole reason that they may have been faked in the first place is so that people get inspired. It's a way of creating a new reality where this is a real thing. So I'm full of theories that I could go on for days about, but I think I'll leave the video there. So thanks to everybody for joining, whether you're watching live or archived. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to another YouTube channel that I was recently on, once again recently. Let's see. So last week, I jumped on a live stream with Cody over at Decoding with Cody. And I've shouted him out before, but, some of the work he's doing is truly fascinating. And, I've long said that when I first started decoding, I never actually had an intention of making videos. The only reason I really started doing that is because I didn't feel like people were catching on to some of the most fascinating elements of numerology yet. I came into the whole scene as a developer, right? I created the calculator. I gave people these additional tools. But I felt like I had to start making videos because I didn't think people saw the whole picture of numerology yet. But when I watch Cody's videos, it's like, okay, we're getting there. Other people are catching on. There's a new generation of decoders that truly have a great grasp of the combination of numerology, symbolism, and whatnot. And it's really good stuff over there. So this video yesterday, for instance, on the death of Donald Sutherland and how it syncs up with the Hunger Games, it's really good stuff. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, you deserve a smack in the head. Definitely go over there and do that. Cody also does some pro wrestling decodes just like myself, which are always fascinating. Just like this Corpus Christi video. So, going forward, I'm thinking about how to best spread the work of Gematria. And, I make videos like this, and I thank everybody for watching and supporting the work. And I know that the knowledge is getting out there, but as far as where my efforts are best spent, I think I want to develop some more tools that will help make decoding even easier, make these matches jump out at you, so that we can ultimately get to the point where we are literally predicting the news. And I mean, we're almost there. And sometimes we do. This whole thing with Lewis Hamilton. His own team is trying to kill him, right? And this story comes out a week after I mentioned this Skull and Bones connection with Hamilton. But I think the ultimate enemy here is soft censorship, as we've been seeing on YouTube. and other platforms. So, trying to branch off into Rumble and other places, but nothing's as popular as YouTube, so it's a little frustrating trying to make that work. And yeah, I did check into Bill Clinton, who's from Arkansas, obviously. There weren't any huge matches that popped out immediately with Bill Clinton. If you look at his birthday and run it to yesterday's date, like, I don't see any numbers here that I was really talking about in the rest of the decode, so I decided not to include him. Somebody has something, please feel free to drop it in the chat. But, Bill Clinton was the president who gave way to George Bush. Clinton was in between the two Skull and Bones presidents, right? Because prior to Bill Clinton, we had George H.W. Bush, a graduate of Yale University, a member of Skull and Bones. And then Clinton gave way to George W. Bush, born in New Haven, Connecticut, graduated from Yale, and another Skull and Bones member. So there probably is something, but, I really wanted to focus on the riddle that synced up with the guy the town was named after, as well as the founder of the grocery store, Alan Bellamy. Oh, yeah, and the name of the shooter was released, wasn't it? Let's see, who's this guy here? So now I have to not only find an updated article, but also one that doesn't stop loading when you run an ad blocker. Can someone put the name of the guy? I forget. It was Posey. I saw that. Oh, Travis Eugene Posey. That was it. This is the 283rd prime number. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. 283 is the 61st prime number, which is a big Skull and Bones part, as I explored earlier. Huh. He's got the 233 and 2107. The first Great American Eclipse was on the 233rd day of 2017. 233, 2107. And this was wow. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Look at this. 6 years and 10 months exactly after the first Great American Eclipse. Figuring things out live on the fly here. So we mentioned how the city was founded on April 8th, which is this date here. But this is clearly connected to the first eclipse now as well, as we're seeing. So the shooting was 6 years and 10 months after the first eclipse. The 61st prime number is 283. And the shooter's name is the 283rd prime number. And his name is 233 and the same digits as 2017. So I hope that's clear enough how that all connects. But also this 82 months. 82 months, huh? Let me see if I still have this on this presentation. Here we go. The second Great American Eclipse was exactly 82 lunar phases after the first. And when Skull and Bones and Yale University had its 322nd anniversary, that was exactly 82 sidereal months after the first eclipse. And now yesterday's shooting was exactly 82 months after the first eclipse. So that's actually really, really powerful, and I could have led the video off with that maybe. But instead we're going to end the video with it, I think. All right, so with that being said, think we'll wrap it all up there. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to y'all next time. See ya.